I love kind of the picture of how quickly it comes together for you, like you're not swimming full time, you're doing other things at age 11. By 14, 15, you're swimming multiple events at the Class A state meet, which, for some swimmers is a humble beginning, and they might refer to that as, oh, I wasn't great, but you got to be a really good swimmer to swim a couple individual events at the Class A state meet, particularly as a freshman. And then you have that big breakthrough as a sophomore. And I think this is one of the cool things that, that I wanted to make sure that we got across in your storytelling today is that you're a guy that won 3 different events, at the state meet, and something that Alec really expressed. He's very proud of you about that you won 5 events in total, and that of the 3, he was the first one to point out you won more than any of the 3 brothers, but he's very proud of the, the diversity and the ability that you showed to be able to swim different events. But your first breakthrough as a state champion comes in the 200 IM, and you repeated in that as a junior before. And I think a lot of people know you as a flyer and a 200 freestyler, but that first state breakthrough at the high school level came in the IM. Can you take me back to the 93 state meet and that first title? What do you remember?
Yeah. Oh, I remember it. Going into that meet, I had no aspirations. I didn't think I was going to win an event, put it that way. I just went in and was just going to give it 100%. So I didn't really know what to expect. I still wasn't one of the state's best swimmers at that point. So that was my biggest breakthrough year. And so, my high school coach, Rick Edwards, he always told us that everyone's an IMer. And so he made sure that all the swimmers were proficient in all 4 strokes. And we always did and incorporated a lot of IM into our workouts. And so, I always had that mindset that every swimmer should try to be an IMer. And so I had no idea that I was going to walk away winning the 200 IM as a sophomore at the state meet. So that was extremely exciting to me. And then, of course, got second place. I think it was Matt Martin won the state meet in the 100 butterfly and broke Ron Orris's state record. And I was not far behind him and got second place. So, really exciting sophomore year for me. And that was when I realized, like, wow, I've got a gift here. I've got something great. And it confirmed to me that, because I always wondered, am I ever going to be as good as my brothers? And that confirmed for me that, yes, I'm there. I am. And I could potentially be better than them. And from there, once you gain that confidence, I mean, that's really what, success in swimming is all about. It's a component, at least, is having that confidence. And, being able to go to that meet and get second in the 100 fly behind Matt Martin and then win the 200 IM was a huge confidence booster for me. And so, yeah, I continued. I swam those 2 same events my junior year, and then broke Matt Martin's 1-year-old record in the 100 butterfly. I went a little bit faster in the IM, but even my junior year, I started to realize that, freestyle, I had a really strong freestyle. And, another great thing about Rick Edwards and my father and swimming in the Lansing areas, we had coaches that were really keen on technique. And so I had a really awkward body as I was growing my freshman, sophomore year. So it wasn't really until my junior year that I started to fill out and was starting to feel that stroke, because you really can't feel that. You don't really maximize the technique until your body's, fully grown and then are able to, focus in on the technique side of things. So, I really worked on my freestyle a lot over the course of my junior and senior year. And then, of course, senior year decided to swim the 200 freestyle instead of the 200 IM, still swimming the 100 butterfly. And then eventually, freestyle became my strongest stroke. As a kid, butterfly was just always my forte. It was a stroke that I could just naturally swim. A lot of people, butterfly comes last. But for me, butterfly came first. I was just able to swim butterfly, and my butterfly technique right off the bat was much stronger than my technique in any of my other 3 strokes, even freestyle. So that came the most natural to me. And so it took me some time to really feel that efficiency and lengthen out my stroke and get the most power out of my freestyle until about my junior or senior year, which then my coach and I sat down and decided, all right, let's do the 200 free this year.
Right. So before we jump too far ahead, I want to go back to Rick Edwards.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first time that you talked about him. And, in speaking with Alec, one of the things that I thought was just really interesting is, he really painted Rick for him. And I think every relationship is about that swimmer and that coach lining up. For Alec, Rick was a master motivator, and he talked about Rick's ability to tap into his buttons and get him ready as well as anybody could at that time. And he also pointed out that I think he referred to your dad as a Zen coach and said Ian was a Zen swimmer and that their relationship kind of grooved a little bit more. And Ian described you as being in the middle, that you probably kind of grooved with your dad's philosophy a little bit more than Alec, but maybe not as much as Ian did. Where did you fit with Rick and maybe your dad as well in coaching influences? But really, I'm interested in hearing you expand on your relationship with Rick here in high school.
Sure. Yeah. So Rick was really my sole coach from when I started swimming all the way up until when I graduated high school. So, I got to know him pretty well. And yes, Alec's correct in that he was just an amazing motivator. And he spent so much time and energy, not just developing practices, but developing the character of the swimmer and trying to get the most out of that person and that individual. And so, he was really inspirational. He always had inspirational quotes. And I remember listening to Alec's interview and, he would focus in on a different book every year. And we would read those books and always watch an inspirational movie before any swimming meets. He just really cared about all of our success, regardless of, if we won. And so he just, not only did he have that race motivation, but he also had that technical side. So, I know he and my dad did work a lot and collaborate a lot on the stroke technique side of things. So I think, I like to think that he got a lot of that from my dad, kind of being a swimming technique guru. So he was able to incorporate that with the work ethic and the inspiration. One of my favorite things that Rick Edwards did was the visualization. So leading up to championship meets, we did a lot of visualization. And to me, that was huge because when you're visualizing yourself swimming a race perfectly and winning the race, all you have to do is, if you're working hard in the pool and you visualized it, you just show up and you let it happen. Your mind has already rehearsed what you want to do in the pool. So that to me was one of the most special things that Rick Edwards did, and that I thought was cutting edge that a lot of coaches weren't doing at the time. So, he would do some relaxation to kind of get us in a deeper state and open up our mind. And then he would start with the visualization, and he would talk us through the race and, seeing the pool, seeing the surface of the water on the pool and smelling the chlorinated water, and kind of activating those senses to make it real. And then, rehearsing the perfect race in your head. So I always felt like that made it easier for me to step up on the blocks and just do what I had already done in my mind and rehearsed. So he was really unique in that sense. And, Lansing was never a really strong swimming area. And so to be able to have coaches like that, of that caliber in that area, we were really fortunate. So, I can't just say that my success was all genetic and work ethic. A lot of it is just having great coaches that you can trust. And, he was one of my favorite coaches to this day, if not my favorite coach to this day, because, he made it interesting. He made it exciting. There was a lot of variety. Not, the workouts were not monotonous at all. So he just kept it exciting. In a sport that can get monotonous, he made sure that we were engaged on a regular basis. And so that kept me engaged as a swimmer, especially since I didn't have anyone on my team that I could train with besides my freshman year. Having Ian as a senior, who was a whole, caliber ahead of me. My sophomore through senior year, I had literally nobody on the team to train with during high school season, And then Rick was also my age group coach. So I had him year round. We'd do our high school season, even water polo. And then so when summer season came around, I did have some local area swimmers from different high schools that would motivate me and push me in the water. But, I was mostly racing against the clock from my sophomore to senior year. So, but having him there certainly helped keep me on the ball and keep me motivated.
One of the things that, Alec and I spent a good time talking about was his 90 state championship meet. And so many of his goals were defined by his pursuit of state records and wanting to get that 200 freestyle record and being touched out and then falling 18/100 short of the 500 freestyle record. And so much of his the value that he placed in that senior year revolved around trying to etch his name in that record book. So this is a family that values a state record and what that means. And certainly you grew up watching two brothers pursue them and trying to make their mark. And in 94, you do that. You win your first 100 butterfly state championship. And in the process, you break Matt Martin's 1-year-old state record that you had chased him to the year before. And this is a record that you'll wind up holding here for a few years. We'll get to that in just a second. But what did that mean? Not just to win, you'd won a state championship. And again, you're starting to set your sights on things larger than just the state of Michigan, but still a pretty cool thing to become a Michigan high school state record holder. What did that mean to you?
That meant everything to me. That was probably one of the most exciting moments in my whole swimming career, was breaking my first high school state record. And that was, my junior year, and that was at U of M. I just remember being ecstatic, and that was my goal all year, was to just break that state record. I put a lot of pressure on myself, and to be able to follow through and achieve that dream that I had hoped for all year was amazing. So, immense amount of elation and excitement when that happened. So, breaking a state record in the state of Michigan, one of the strongest high school swimming states in the country, was huge, especially in a sprint event. So for me, that was probably, my biggest breakthrough record, or I should say record-breaking event in my life. So I remember that, and I think in the prelims, I didn't break the state record, so I knew in the finals the pressure was on, and so I didn't break the state record until the finals. I think I was 49 high, just shy of Matt Martin's record in the prelims. So I knew I had to really do something special in the finals, and going into the finals of the state meet, a little bit more pressure and anxiety sometimes causes people to tense up. So somehow I was able to pull it off, and was extremely excited. However, I was always good at kind of playing my parents for as motivation for something. I think my junior year, my brother Alec had he had a Chevelle, a 1970 Chevelle that he was looking to get rid of. And I told my parents, like, hey, if I can break the state record, can I have my brother's Chevelle, Alec's Chevelle? And so quite honestly, that was a huge motivator for me as well. And why I was so excited, because I broke that record, and I was like, yes, I got this sweet muscle car out of the deal. So I was always good at that, and my parents always played into that game. And that was something that always motivated me. Like, hey, if I achieve this time or this goal or break this record, can you buy me this? And so that was, also one of the big motivators for me. So I do recall it being that exciting because of that added factor as well.